Forged among stars.
Welcome to episode 2 of season 2. Hawking Duval had just received some bad news that he now has to rush to the planet's surface, the surface of Thule, to try to retrieve an object from an ancient, high-tech starship that has crashed on the planet. An enemy faction has arrived at Lodestar, or will arrive soon. And the administrator of Lone Star wants Hawking Duval to find this artifact before that faction arrives or could possibly steal it. So, we left off. Hawking Duval was in the mess hall area or galley of the Shard of the Sun. He was speaking with Echo, whose call sign is Dancer, and Scout, the new young healer that he has made a iron vow to free from her captor, the vile ogre. And that is where we begin this session today. But first, a couple little things quickly. I created some factions last time. I have recorded them here under this tab. So we have the Radiant Wraiths and we have the Veiled Spheres. The Radiant Wraiths sounds kind of silly, but we're going to go with that right now. But the Veiled Spheres are who own and operate Lodestar Station, where Hawking Duval has been hanging out for a little while. All right, go back to the character sheet. Also, I'm a total idiot. I used the rulebook to roll up the faction last time when, if I click on Oracles right here, all of that is right here, and I could have saved us all a whole bunch of time. So always check out what you're working with, kids. So there's that. Next time, if we need a new faction or a planet or a location or a settlement or a creature or a derelict, which might be coming up, we are going to just click into this right here, and we'll use these rolls within Roll20 so we don't have to switch all over the place. Okay, so this is where Hawking Duval is. As I mentioned, he is now hurried and rushed that he has to get to the planet's surface quickly. So he looks at Dancer and Scout and says, all right, then, it's showtime. Let's go. So they all go to the cockpit, and Hawking Duval fires up the Shard of the Sun. Now, I have described the cockpit in the past. There is a seat with controls not like a yoke or a stick, like a fighter craft, something like that. It's more like the Voltron Lions from Voltron, the old school Voltron. So you have handles that he pulls back and forth and that he can turn like this. That's how he would steer. He also has a foot pedal. It's kind of a platform, really, that goes all the way across. He places both feet on that platform, and he uses that to help steer, so he has to adjust the angle of the foot pedal, because this is a retro feature. Also above him in the kind of like the dashboard area up above the window and the view screen, that's where he has like a CB radio. It has a cord on it because the technology is bulky and in some cases like antiquated, not sleek and streamed down by any means. So Hawking Duval sits down in the chair. I'm going to say that there are other stations in the cockpit. There are a couple extra, and they face to the sides. So Dancer sits in one, and then Scout sits in the other. Even though Scout is brand new, she maybe doesn't even know what she's doing exactly just yet, but she sits down and puts on her harness, just like Hawking and Dancer do. And so Hawking Duval takes the radio down from the dash up on the top, and the cord kind of comes down, and he clicks the handle, and he says, Shard of the Sun to Lodestar Control. We will exit the bay as soon as we have your authorization. And he lets go, and he gets a response, and the response comes in, Shard of the Sun, you are clear. Stand by. And as he looks out the view screen or the windshield in front of him, he sees the bay doors open, and then he gets another response on the comm. Shard of the Sun, you are clear. Repeat, you are clear. So Hawking Duval takes the handset again, clicks it. Understood, Lodestar Control. We will be exiting the bay momentarily. And the response comes through the comms. Acknowledged, and may you go with the speed of the Grey Ones. Hawking Duval just kind of nods, but he doesn't reply. And then he just hooks his handset back up in its cradle up above him and has to pull the cord out of its way and hook it over a hook up there. And he starts the ignition sequence and he fires up the shard of the sun. He maneuvers the vessel out of Lodestar Station. Now, Lodestar Station is this beautiful, beautiful orbital platform with just geometrical shaped towers and buildings that shine like diamonds and emeralds and rubies, even in space. It is absolutely gorgeous. By contrast, the shard of the sun on the outside looks like a cobbled together piece of garbage. It just has like nodes and nodules all over it, pieces welded on, just all manner of odd shapes on the hull. But of course, as we know, the interior now is luxurious. So Hawking Duval maneuvers and he points the shard of the sun at the planet Thule. And now we have to make a move. And I believe what we are going to do is we're going to do set course, because the people of Lodestar, Blackbird and Vagabond, had been sending some shuttlecrafts down to the planet. And so they have given Hawking information enough that he knows where a safe landing spot for the shard of the sun is on the planet. So we are going to follow a known route. So we are going to roll this set a course. And so we're going to roll against supply, which is really good because we have a +5. And we got a strong hit. On a strong hit, you reach your destination and the situation favors you. Take 1 momentum. Sadly, we are at max momentum, which is number 10, so we can't gain any more. But the strong hit is very nice, so we reach the destination. So I'll describe that in fiction. So let me describe how this goes. So Hawking has maneuvered the shard of the sun towards the planet Thule. He punches in on this just large buttons where he has to use his finger or his thumb to really just punch them in because they are hard to push in. And he punches in this coordinates and some of this information that Blackbird has given him. And he is able to follow this course down to the surface of Thule. And so as he descends, the planet just rises up before him, and it is blue and green kind of bands across it with all of these clouds. Very striking, very beautiful. Now the green, however, is deceptive. It's not plants, it is ice. Just turn green because of the depth or because of the mineral content, something like that. But there are great swashes of blue and white as well with some of these green areas. And Hawking flies down, enters the atmosphere of Thule, and slowly maneuvers the ship to a patch of snow and ice where it is quite obvious that other ships, the shuttlecraft from Lodestar, have been landing. And he places the shard of the sun neatly down on the ground right there. He leans back from the controls and he says, "All right, good start so far." And he spins around his chair and he looks at Dancer, and whose name is Echo, and he says, "Echo, from now on comms, we'll go by call signs. You'll be Dancer. I am Jester. Of course, Scout will be Scout." He kind of looks over and smiles, and she makes kind of this odd movement with her head and her eyes because she is eccentric. And then he tells them, so here's the course of action. We're going to have to take the rover closer to the vessel. So Dancer, what I would like is for you to stay on board the shard of the sun and use the scanners. Now, We have rolled that Dancer, in addition to being an entertainer, she is also an investigator. So Hawking is leaving her here to do some work on the scanners. So when Hawking tells her that, Dancer nods and she's like, of course. What do you want me to monitor specifically? And Hawking replies, I want you to keep an eye on the weather, any atmospheric conditions. A storm or anything like that would throw this mission into chaos and cause us to possibly even flee. She nods. And what about Lodestar? And Hawking looks at her and says, yes, monitor communications with Lodestar. If anything happens with that rival ship, keep me apprised. And she says, will do. Then Hawking looks to Scout. Okay, Scout, you're going to come along with me on the Outrider. And once we reach a certain position, I will leave you with the vehicle and I will go ahead on foot. Do you understand? The young healer shakes her head and says, yeah, I understand. He's like, good. I may need your healing services when I return to the vehicle. Stay in contact with Dancer always. The young healer shakes her head. Yes, of course. So Hawking Duval then leans back in his command chair. He kind of clasps his hands together and then puts them down on the armrest. Let's get going. Okay, so right here we're going to be ready to do some more moves. But first, I would like to describe a few people. So I have described Dancer before, and she is also described in the Connections recap video that you can watch on the YouTube channel at dicegeeks. She has a Lexa Doeg look, the actress who played Andromeda in Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda back in the day. She's in her late 20s, roughly. And then also Scout, who I haven't really described just yet. Scout is probably in that 22-ish age range, but she is eccentric, so she acts a little quirky. She also might look a little bit younger than her age because I rolled youthful. She is a healer. Now, we have orders of healers in this universe, so she belongs to some type of order of healer. And what I'm going to say is that she has blonde hair and that she combs it to one side where she braids it with some emerald green ribbons. And those ribbons signify her order that she belongs to. And so people will know that she's a healer when she arrives someplace, or at least ones that understand that order or are familiar a little bit with some of the healing orders in the universe that we have here. So that's kind of her look. I'll think about her clothes a little later and maybe do a different video on that, and also think about what Dancer is wearing as well. So we can kind of fill them out. Now, of course, Hawking's probably going to die here, and I'll have to scrap the whole podcast or come up with a new main character or something like that. But right now, that is kind of my plan. I'll figure out what they look like and what they're wearing and give those descriptions a little bit later. But right now, that will be enough description. So what's going to happen here is that Hawking and Scout are going to take the Outrider, his new planetary rover vehicle, and they have to undertake an expedition to get close to this ancient vessel that has crashed onto the surface of Thule. So this will require some moves. So let me describe some fiction at first. So after Hawking says what he had said and filled them in on the plan, he gets up from the command chair. Scout follows him out. Dancer gets up. She moves to the command chair of the Shard of the Sun and presses some of these large buttons and flips some of these large toggle switches. And she starts monitoring the weather and atmospheric conditions, and she is also listening to the comms to see if anything happens at Lodestar with this rival faction complication that has come up. So Hawking and Scout make their way to the storage room, and Hawking unloads parkas and winter gear that we've already established that he has. Scout takes a whole bunch of it as well. And then they go to the vehicle bay. They arrive in the vehicle bay. The rover, which is now named Outrider, is sitting there, and they load the gear inside and board the rover. Now, the rover is a combination of the Explorer from the old Star Frontiers role-playing game and the A-Team's van, but with the wheels of the Landmaster from Damnation Alley. So if that's not enough nerdy fandom for you, stay tuned because there's more. Anyway, so it has that kind of look to it. So it has a van look to it, but it has, I think it has a really cool red stripe down the side of it. And then it has these 6 giant wheels that are tri-wheels that you can drive on just 1 or 2 of them, or you can unlatch them and the 3 wheels will turn in an assembly. So if you don't know what that looks like, look up the Landmaster from Damnation Alley and you will see what that looks like. So they board the Outrider. This is what its name is, which Hawking either named it or it could be a brand name. I just came up with the name Outrider because it sounds really fun. So they board the vehicle. The vehicle bay door opens and they drive the rover out. And now we're going to have to undertake an expedition because this is where the people of Lodestar were having trouble. They were having trouble getting to this spaceship that has crashed on the surface of the planet. So what Hawking is going to do, he has to figure out a route to get him close to the vessel where he can leave the rover and so he can then enter the vessel to find this item. Now, I have kept the item kind of vague because, frankly, I don't know what it is yet. So we'll be trying to figure that out along the way, along with Hawking. However, to start off, we need to undertake this expedition to try to reach the starship, and nobody has done this before. Lodestar's personnel have been unsuccessful at this. So we're going to look at the undertake expedition. And you can see right here, it says, when you trailblaze a route through perilous space, a journey over hazardous terrain, or survey a mysterious site, give the expedition a name and rank. Then, for each segment of the expedition, envision your approach. If you move at speed, roll with edge. If you keep under the radar, roll with shadow. If you stay vigilant, roll with wits. On a strong hit, and it goes through all of the benefits or complications based on your roll. So what we have to do here is we have to create a progress bar. So this is traveling to the starship in the Outrider. Now we need to set a rating. I think this is going to be dangerous because the people from Lodestar weren't able to do it, and also we're driving this rover over terrain we have not surveyed, so there could be crevasses, there could be snowdrifts. It could be quite dangerous. So I'm going to go with dangerous on this. So that is our progress bar here for an expedition. So now we come back to the roll, and we are going to roll with wits because Hawking is staying vigilant, and his edge and his shadow are not very strong, although his wits, not his strong suit either. Hawking leads with his heart. But we're going to roll with wits. So we are going to see what happens. And I don't think I get any pluses. So we're going to hit this.
Forged Among Stars will be right back.
Subscribe to the Dice Geeks Insider, a weekly RPG newsletter. Links below.
Forged Among Stars.
We have gotten a weak hit. However, if we burn all 10 of our momentum, we can make it a strong hit. Now that is very dangerous because I would like to keep my momentum, but we're going to look here and see what a weak hit means. Okay? If a weak hit is tolerable, then we'll go with that. If we need to, we could make it a strong hit, but I don't really want to do that right now, so let's look and see if it makes sense. On a weak hit, as above. Oh, okay, so it's a strong hit. You reach a waypoint, envision the location, and mark progress per the rank of expedition. Okay, on a weak hit, as above, but the progress costs you. Choose one, suffer. So a suffer move at -2 or 2 different ones at -1. Face a peril at the waypoint. Envision what you encounter. I think this is a little too soon to burn momentum, although, I mean, it would be nice to skip some of this. But let's just go with it. Let's save our momentum for right now. So I have to make a suffer move at -2 or 2 at -1. So let's look at those. We could just burn 2 points of momentum and say that's what it cost us. We could endure harm, so we face physical injury. We can endure stress, which affects our spirit. Withstand damage, so our vehicle could be damaged. Companion takes a hit, so that would not be Scout. That would have to be Monarch, because Scout is not considered a companion. Monarch, Hawking's symbiote, is considered a companion. Or sacrifice resources. We could take a hit to supply, something like that. So what I'm going to say, we're going to take a -1 to spirit because the journey to this waypoint was stressful. And then we are going to go to our vehicle and say that the rover was damaged somehow. So we'll be at a 4 on its integrity. I have to imagine a complication at the waypoint. So now we reach a waypoint, but we also get to mark progress. So this is dangerous. So it doesn't seem, oh, there it goes. Okay, so that button does work, but we're gonna have to clear these because we only made it to 1 waypoint. So we have marked some progress. So we're trying to reach the ship, the crashed ship on the planet surface. So what I imagine here is that they start traveling out. The interior of the Outrider has the feel of like a space trucker kind of thing, right? Like it has wires and tubes all hanging down. It's a little cramped here and there, so they have to move around each other and kind of scoot past each other. It is this retro future with all this bulky technology. So I am definitely imagining, you know, some clunky controls and some levers and large switches. I'll think about the inside of the Outrider a little bit more, but that's a good enough sketch right now. So they start off, they go across this snow plain where wind is whipping across them, blowing snow, and they're driving across like an ice sheet. Once they arrive at the waypoint, they are confronted with a collapse of the ice sheet below them. And one of the wheels falls into this. It shakes the whole Outrider, and it damages the wheel that fell into the crack. So Hawking has to switch over to the full try mode where the whole wheel assembly turns the 3 tires on it, and he switches that over and he guns the engine and the wheels grip and it pulls out, but not without cost. This cost Hawking some stress that he's feeling now, more anxious about the journey, and the wheel is damaged. Nothing too bad just yet, but there is some damage on the wheel of the Outrider. So now it is time to press on. So we are at that waypoint. Now we're going to do another waypoint. We're going to stay vigilant again. So he is going to roll with wits again. And we're going to see how long it takes us to get to this starship. Strong hit. All right. This is good. This is really, really good. So a strong hit. So we reach our waypoint, envision the location, mark progress, the rank of the expedition. So this is really good. So we come back over here, we hit mark, so we get 2 more boxes because it's dangerous, and then we envision the waypoint. So the last waypoint was a crevasse that opened up and the tire fell in. I'm going to imagine this one as one of those kind of strange ice formations that is formed by wind blowing through it. Looks eerie and otherworldly and quite spectacular. So that was nice. Now we're going to have to do it again, because until we get to a place to where we can try to conclude this, we're going to have to keep rolling, undertake expedition. So again, we will move with wits, and we got another strong hit. Very nice. So again, we'll mark progress. So I'm going to say this waypoint is at the base of a large glacier. So there's this big ice wall that is off to one side, just rises up before them, but they stop there. Fortunately, this is where they need to turn, so it's not an impediment. So we are going to continue. We're going to do it one more time. Hopefully it goes well, and we will be able to finish this expedition. Weak hit. Okay, so we're back to the weak hit. We do mark progress, but then we have a suffer and a peril. All right, so we mark progress, but we have to do 2 more suffer moves. Let's go down here and look at these again. Lose momentum, endure harm, stress, withstand damage. I am going to say that the vehicle gets damaged again. That is one of the most obvious problems that can happen, although it is terrible. And another one of those was sacrifice resources, so we're going to take a hit to supply. So how I imagine this is that they come to this ice field with these sharp shards of ice sticking up out of the ground, and the wind and the low visibility. Hawking didn't see that patch of sharp ice, and he runs his tire into it. It causes some damage to one of the wheels, so that is the minus to the vehicle integrity. And then the supply, what I'm going to say is they get stuck, and they are stuck here for a little while, and so they have to consume some of their supplies. So Hawking and Scout share a meal together inside the Outrider, and they talk, and they're stuck here for a little while. And so what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to actually develop their relationship, because this seems significant in some way. Go. But however, now that we have 8 boxes filled here, we can try to conclude this progress bar of this expedition. So let's try to do that. We got a strong hit. This is really good. So let's go over here and check finish an expedition. On a strong hit, you reach your destination or complete your survey. Mark a reward on your Discovery's Legacy track per the expedition's rank. So on dangerous, we get 2 ticks on our Discoveries list. That is really nice. So we'll go over here. These are the legacies. I haven't talked much about these just yet, because those are in the recaps sessions. So if you go back and watch those videos. So we get 2 ticks because it was dangerous. So that means, no, that's only 1 tick. That means we have filled another box. Yes, that's correct. That means we have filled another box. So guess what? We get 2 more experience points, which is going to be awesome. So I'll make note of that up here. See, I've already banked 2 experience points, so we'll just change that to 4. So we have 4 experience points. This is going to be nice. If we survive. So what I'm going to imagine here is that after Hawking and Scout got stuck in the Outrider and there was damage to the wheel, they were stuck there. Hawking dressed all up in his parka and that, and he went outside, and Scout worked the controls, and they finally got it freed. They moved the Outrider out of that dangerous kind of patch of sharp ice. And then that's when they had their meal together. So they shared kind of this moment, a stressful moment together. And then they shared a meal together because they had just been stuck and it wasted so much time. So they had to share a meal together. Of course, they stay in contact with Dancer throughout this time. But now, once the meal is finished, Hawking sits at the controls and he drives the Outrider forward again across this tundra-like landscape, this frozen desert with snow whipping down and wind just howling all around them. And he drives the rover up to the edge of a huge ravine that is just filled with ice and snow and just plunges down deep into the planet. And lying in that ravine is an ancient starship that had landed here an eon or multiple eons ago. Who even knows? And Hawking Duval stares out the windscreen of the Outrider at this ancient starship. Scout, her mouth just kind of hangs open a little bit as she's staring wide-eyed at it. Jester, what? It's amazing. I know, Scout. It's incredible. Well, we're not finished yet. This is just the first step. I'm going to need you to take over here. You're going to stay here with the Outrider. I'm going to get geared up, and I'm going to head out. Scout nods. All right. Now be careful, though. Be careful. I will. So Hawking heads to the back of the Outrider, and he dresses in his parka, and he puts this big thing on. He takes his kind of Middle Eastern scarf that I had him wear throughout the first season. He takes that and he tucks that around his neck, kind of pulls it up over his head a little bit as an extra layer of protection. Then he pulls his parka up and he puts on his goggles and he puts on the face shield, and he gears all up in this winter gear or ice planet gear, I guess. It's not winter. It's always winter on this planet, I guess. Or it's never winter. It's either always winter or never winter. Whatever. It's always icy and cold and snowy. So he gets ready. He grabs his equipment that we determined that he had, and he opens the door of the Outrider, and just wind and snow just whips in, and he exits quickly and closes the door as fast as he can. And he steps into the deep snow, and it crunches beneath his feet as he walks around. He'll also have to use his hands occasionally because sometimes he sinks up to his knees or more into the snow. And he maneuvers his way around to the front of the Outrider, and he looks back, and up in the control station he sees Scout doing her silly little wave because she is an eccentric person. And Hawking does a salute, and he turns and he faces this ravine, and he looks down to that ravine and he sees this giant ship. He takes a deep breath and he checks his comms. Scout, can you hear me? She answers.
Yes, Chester. I can hear you, loud and clear.
Very good. Dancer, are you on the channel? And all the way back at the Shard of the Sun, in his comms, Dancer's voice crackles in.
Got you, Chester. I am on the channel. I can hear both you and Scout.
Hawking Duval says, excellent. I'm heading towards the vessel. And now we're going to have to do another Undertake expedition. So we'll look over here. We already did this finish expedition. Then we need to go to the progress bar. We need to make a new one. So this will be reaching the starship. Again, I think this has to be dangerous. It just seems like it has to be dangerous to go down this side of this ravine to this ancient starship. It doesn't seem like it would be a walk in the park. So it's going to be dangerous. So we're going to go back to the moves. We're going to undertake expedition. We're going to do this all over again. We're going to do wits again. Going to submit that. We have no modifiers. I wish, although I could call on a few things. I could call on Monarch, different things like that, but we're not going to do that yet because I still do have momentum. What do we got? A weak hit, and momentum will not save us. So we are going to take a weak hit. We get to mark progress, but it costs us -2, and then we're going to face a peril. So we get to mark. I'm going to look at this lose momentum. I'm going to go ahead and just do that. I'm just going to go and take the -2 to the momentum, which I was hoping to save, but this is just what we're going to have to do since we keep rolling weak hits. The peril that he faces, I think it just has to be like he is making his way down into the ravine and he slips and he slides down this sheet of rock, and he has, I'm going to say, a climbing hammer because we've checked his gear and he was totally outfitted, so he's able to snag his hammer into the ice sheet that is sloping downward into this ravine towards the vessel, and he is able to stop himself and he gets himself up, but it really hurts his momentum, meaning it slows him down. Now he is second guessing where he is putting his feet, where he is looking for handholds and that, so this is just going to slow him down. So that waypoint is an ice sheet that he slid all the way down, or he slid some of the way down, but he was able to save himself. And so now we're going to do undertake expedition again. So we're going to try to build progress on the progress bar, because that's what its name is. So wits again, he's using his mind. No modifiers. Okay, so I got a weak hit, but I could spend all of my momentum, which would reset to 2. I could spend that to get a strong hit, and then we could bypass some of these minuses and some of these perils. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to spend the momentum. Its reset value is 2, so it will spend all the way down, but it'll reset it to. We'll get a strong hit, and we'll get to mark progress here. And then this waypoint, I'm just kind of still imagining a really interesting rock formation that has ice all over it, and the wind has just pulled like icicles out, and maybe they're standing straight out parallel to the planet's surface but perpendicular to the rock formation. I just think that's cool, a cool look. So Hawking makes it there. So we're going to try another one. So we're going to have to do another move. We're going to have to do another undertake expedition. We're going to roll wits. We have no pluses. Oh dear. Probably shouldn't have burned that momentum. Wouldn't have helped. So on a miss, you are waylaid by a crisis or arrive at a waypoint to confront an immediate hardship or threat. Do not mark progress and pay the price. So we're going to have to pay the price. This is not good. I haven't even gotten to the ship yet. So here we are. Make the most obvious negative outcome happen. Ask the Oracle for inspiration. Interpret the answer as a hardship or complication. Roll on the table below. If you have difficulty interpreting the result, roll again. All right, so something of value is lost or destroyed. I've done this one a whole bunch in the first season. I don't want to do it again, so let's roll again. The environment or terrain introduces a new hazard. Well, that makes absolute sense since I'm on this ice world planet. What could that be? I am going to say as Hawking Duval reaches a certain place, he is coming down this slope of a ravine and there are rocks and ice all around him. He starts walking upon this ice sheet, and as he does, it collapses and drops away underneath his feet. Now, he is up on top, so he doesn't fall, but the ground beneath him here gives way, and it collapses, and now he is staring at a sheer cliff that he is going to have to rappel down. And this is not good. Let me check to see if he was injured or anything like that. Okay, I don't think so. But this is an immediate threat. He could fall, so we didn't get progress. And now he is confronted with this sheer cliff in front of him, so he's going to be scaling a cliff, or he's going to be descending a cliff. So let's go. So again, with this, he's going to use wits, no modifiers, a weak hit. If I spent my momentum, it would only tie it, so it wouldn't switch it to a strong hit, which is frustrating. So what I am going to say is, let's go over here first. We do get to mark progress, but we have to -2. So what I'm going to say is that he takes a hit to spirit, and he also takes a hit to health. And so what this looks like is Hawking Duval comes to this cliff, and he is just dispirited that this sheet, and it is also very stressful watching this ice sheet just crack and crumble and crash down before him. And he is dispirited. And now when he starts this climb down this sheer cliff face, it is taking a lot out of him. He is exerting effort. He is also maybe hurting his hands and his feet as he's trying to climb down this cliff. But let's move on. Again with wits. Submit. No modifiers. A strong hit. Yes. Excellent. Okay. On a strong hit, this is great. So we are going to mark progress down here. He comes to a waypoint, and I am going to say he gets to the bottom of the cliff, and perhaps there's even like a ledge, an overhang of ice or rock, and he is able to sit down under there out of the wind. So we're going to roll conclude. We get a weak hit. Let's see what this means. It would be the finish expedition move. So on a weak hit, as above, but you face an unforeseen complication at the end of your expedition, make the legacy reward 1 rank lower, and envision what you encounter. Okay, so I only get, instead of 2 ticks, I only get 1 tick on my legacy discoveries. So there is that. And then I need to envision what I see. Well, I'm going to roll on the oracles to get some kind of idea here. So I'm going to look through the oracles. There are some that just have some interesting things. So let's roll here on the core action one. 62 locate. Let's do a theme. Blood. Let's do a descriptor. Verse. Vault. Oh, good. So what is happening here? So Hawking Duval gets down to the base of the cliff. He turns, and before him is the ancient high-tech starship that has crashed on the planet of Thule. And he is staring at it, and then he walks forward. He still has to walk down a ways, but we finish our expedition, so now he knows where he's going. He's walking down further into the ravine because the ship is still below him because it is crashed. This ravine is probably its impact crater, right? As it skimmed across the surface, it probably created this whole place. So he is walking down in this. There's no dangers right here as he comes down towards the vessel. However, when Hawking Duval approaches the vessel, it's still a little ways away, I would say down in the ravine, but he will be able to reach it just fine. However, there in the white snow near his feet is a puddle of blood that has soaked into the snow. And Hawking Duval, even though he is only 30 to 33 years old, he has been around. He has seen war. He has seen blood, and he knows that that is blood. He unzips the front of his parka slowly, reaches in, and he pulls out his sidearm, zips back up his coat. On his comm, he says, "Scout, I've made it to the edge of the vessel." Scout answers,
Right on! Keep us informed.
and Hawking replies, "Yes, I'll do that. Stand by." And he looks and he holds his gun and he looks around. He stops and he gulps. And near the edge of the ship, he sees a remnant, a humanoid oil slick-like creature walking along. And Hawking Duval steels himself for what's to come next.
Thank you for listening to Forged Among Stars.